My grandfather was a sailor, and he used to sail a lot across vast oceans, rough seas. And as a kid, whenever I used to meet him, and whenever I used to wait for him, it used to be a great time for me because of the exciting stories he used to tell me about the rough seas, the rough waters and dark waters, that horizon which was not defined, which could not be seen, and that life which seemed out of reach. But amongst all these exciting things which he used to tell me, the most exciting thing which I used to wait for was the North Star or the Pole Star. Because the North Star or the Pole Star was hope for my grandfather and his team to reach safely to the destination they wanted to. And here's the truth. There's a North Star in all of us. A North Star which is there inside us, which needs to come out. This North Star of the beacon of light has been there for centuries, helping sailors navigate through various uncharted territories, has helped many freedom seekers when they stepped into forests, into rivers, or into unknown places where every step was meant for life or death. The only hope was the North Star. My Pole Star, my North Star, is what I'm going to talk of today, is something which has made me as an individual, is something which has made my organization, Lyra Network, to where it is as of today. And this is what I'm here to present. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, takes me back to those young days when I passed out of engineering, passed out of my MBA, wanted to do something, wanted to earn quick bucks, wanted to make quick money, as every young guy wants to. I started venturing out, trying to look out for various countries where I thought probably earning there was much easier than earning in India. And after working for a few privileged companies in India, I actually went abroad. And that's where the real story starts. I was there for 8 years, a fantastic life, very charming life, great friends, great neighbors. I had a huge house, I had luxury cars, I had a cook who used to cook Indian food for us. I had a gardener who used to take care of the garden. I was in a lot of sports. I don't know whether you'd know, but the ex-Indian cricket selector was my badminton partner. I used to share my dressing room with national cricketers of that specific country. So it was a fantastic life. I was enjoying that life, great friends, great neighbors, great everything. But then there is one lunchtime, maybe probably after about 7.5, 8 years, when I'm having lunch with my colleagues, and then this foreign guy comes to me, sits next to me, or rather opposite of where I sit, and says, Rajesh, you come from a land, or you come from a country, which is way, way behind when it comes to digital payments technology. It is at this point of time that I don't realize, or probably doesn't sink into me. But when I go back home in the evening, and when I'm going through the happenings of the day, that statement strikes me like a bolt. It is at that point of time I realize the intensity of the statement this guy has made. He's actually challenged me. He's actually challenged my capabilities, my abilities, and actually challenged my country's capabilities. When he says that your country is way, way behind when it comes to digital payment technology. And at that very point of time, as a young guy, still in my maybe late 20s or maybe early 30s, I decide that's it. I need to wind up. I need to go back to my country and do something for my nation and do something for my country, and especially in the digital field. So in 6 months' time, I absolutely wind up from there, get a replacement for myself, place him there in my position, and come back to India. Come back to India with absolutely nothing in hand, but only with dream in my heart, an aspiration that one day I will do something for my country, and especially in technology into digital payments. And that's how my company, Lyra Network, was born. Lyra Network basically has been there in India for the past 18 years. It's a company which develops digital payment solutions. Digital payments was never there in our earlier generation. It is just like those since it's a North Star, it's just like those sailors who never had a GPS or who never had a map to navigate. Their belief or the hope was only the North Star. And it is through that North Star they have navigated uncharted territories. So for us, when we started Lyra, or for me when I started Lyra, this company, payments was not a norm. Digital payments was not a norm. But if you look at a younger generation, which is there right in front of me right now, digital payments is an absolute standard norm. You have digital wallets, you have online, offline, point of sale terminals, payment gateway, whatnot. Every nook and corner, every pop and mom store, every panwala, every chaiwala, you can pay with digital payments now. But what I'm talking of is 18 years when I started a company. And just like as every company does, I started a company with a lot of momentum and a lot of zeal. I was really there's a lot of energy in me and I was really enjoying it. But as they say, maybe a year or maybe a year and a half down the line, this industry veteran who has been there for a long time in the industry comes and tells me, Rajesh, I don't think this technology will last in India for a long time. I don't think Lyra can survive for more than 6 months after this. And when somebody at that level or that status or that veteran status tells me this, it's like hitting a road or it's like hitting a wall, absolutely, where you absolutely go completely blank in pursuit of your goals. You know, this can be very tricky, very complicated when you realize that you might fail. And at that point of time, fear of failure becomes your biggest enemy. But they say when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And in fact, there might be a stage where the hardest of challenges will take you to the greatest of levels, or greatest of highest of levels possible. And that's exactly what I did. You know, I started believing in myself that resilience, determination, that strength, and most important, that inner trust, which every sailor has when he navigates those vast oceans. This is what I believed in, my inner trust, inner feeling, inner thought, and I carried on. But it's not just your luck, your talent, which takes you to a long distance. As you grow up, you realize with maturity that it's also hard work, which becomes very, very important. And it's simply impossible to beat a person who's very hardworking. And look at that honey bee. 500 milligrams of honey. This honey bee has to travel 2 million, that's 20 lakh flowers. So hard work is nothing as compared to that. Even it's said by a genius that it's just 1% of inspiration, but 99% of perspiration when it comes to hard work and when it comes to success. So this is that time where I had started rolling the ball, but there was this momentary hit, and I had to come out of it. If you know ex-boxing champion of India, Mary Kom, especially for the ladies, she said that I'm a mother of two, and yet I can win a medal. If I can do that, why can't you? Ace champion Serena Williams, again the lady, global ace champion, she said that a winner is not defined by the number of wins, but by how he or she recovers from the fall. And this is what I did. Talent, hard work, and luck brought me to a level. And ladies and gentlemen, as we speak, as an apt response to that guy who had been a stumbling block to my momentum, or who had tried to put the brakes on me when I started this company, or maybe 1 year after I started this company, there's an apt reply to him. India, as we stand at this point of time, amounts for 49% of the world's global real-time payments, online payments, digital payments. That is nearly half of the world's size, which means that half of the world's transactions happens in India, and the other half happens in the rest of the world. So absolutely amazing from an Indian perspective. Very strong, a lot of pride in that, a lot of passion in that. And we as Indians, I think, should be very happy with the fact that we are at that point of stage where now we are respected. I remember as a young guy when I used to travel abroad and go to different countries, and I used to be very depressed at the airport when I used to see that there is this forex or foreign exchange currency table. You have Japanese yen there, you have Chinese yuan there, you have USD, you have euros, you have French francs, but that you don't have the INR. it was really it was really a very sad moment for me when I should see this. Very depressing for me. This. But now when I go with my chest and a pride. Because now I see INR being accepted everywhere, and probably every major airport in the world has got INR also, besides the Japanese, Chinese, European, and American currency. So that's what India is all about. But my story doesn't end here. My story doesn't end with this apt reply to this young guy from India who told me that, yes, you cannot survive for more than 6 months or 8 months. I think it is very important to understand that and it is the same boiling water which softens the potato, which hardens the egg. So it is not the circumstances or the outside which define you. It is the inside which defines you. And I think this is what I brought myself from. But my story, as I said, does not end here. July 14th, 2023, our Honorary Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, is invited as the guest of honor on Bastille Day, that's a French National Day in France, in Paris. And when he goes there, he announces to the Indian diaspora that India will launch UPI, Unified Payment Interface, at the Eiffel Tower of Paris. And obviously, the mandate is towards my company, Lyra Network. India's Republic Day 2024, 26 Jan, we launch UPI at the Eiffel Tower of Paris, at the iconic, emblematic wonder of the world, the city of dreams, the city of love, Paris. And we ensure that UPI is adopted and implemented there. What does that mean for us as Indians? What it means is a local domestic payment product, which is born in India, is accepted in a developed country like France. Adopted, accepted, implemented, and being used in a developed country like France. Just imagine a local domestic payment product like ours is being used there now. So which means that every Indian who goes to the Eiffel Tower of Paris, of course there are many other momentous or big museums and storerooms and showrooms will start accepting UPI there. But what it effectively means is the moment you go to Eiffel Tower of Paris, you don't need to convert your euro currency to INR to euro currency and buy an Eiffel Tower ticket. In this whole process, you probably were losing some money there when you were actually changing currency. But in this case, you're buying an Eiffel Tower ticket in Europe, in France, Paris, by paying them in INR, which means that you have saved a lot of money there. So this is the fantastic portion of UPI being used in a foreign territory. And this was what my company, Lyra, managed to implement in that country in France. And this, I think, was a perfect response to the guy who had triggered me, unknowingly, unintentionally, who had triggered me to come back to India and start something in this particular domain. So probably a boon in disguise, I would say, at this point of time. But it's not just talent, hard work, luck, which keeps you going, or which kept me going. I think what also kept me going was my higher calling. A higher calling, a calling with a strong sense of purpose, passion, vocation, to drive something purposeful. This is what kept me going. And believe me, as I speak to all of you, there is that higher calling sitting within all of us. We just need to find that. I'm sure, take a moment to reflect. Take a moment to reflect your higher calling, and you will see that something is whispering to you. You need to see inside you to find out where is that place which is telling me that everything is possible and nothing is absolutely impossible. That is what you need to find out within yourself. And that is the higher calling, I think, which helps every individual, just like that sailor, to constantly navigate uncharted territories and conquer the unconquerable positions. And this is exactly like the sailor whose only belief and whose only hope is that North Star or that pole star there, which is the only thing which is constant here in a world of change, which is helping him to navigate and reach a position of strength. And it's the same guidelines or the same guidelines within us which remains constant and which helps us to navigate and meet life's challenges. Life is full of twists and turns. You might probably reach a stage where you lose sight of your goals. But just as the sailor sails on with that constant hope that he will reach his destination, we need to maneuver ourselves, navigate ourselves through life's challenges and need to move on. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you, what is your North Star? Please tell me what's your North Star. You need to find that out. Where is that North Star hiding? What is that vision in you which keeps you going forward when the whole world is trying to put you back? Don't stop until you find that North Star. Don't stop till you're in the open sky and say, hey, I've made it. That is what you need to yearn for. Remember, friends, the North Star was never about direction. It was always about destiny. And yours is waiting. Thank you so much.